Hi, welcome to the Chronicles of Yarnia.
The podcast from Montclair's local yarn store.
Yeah. Episode 27.
Yeah. I was going to say quarantine number 3. So
it is quarantine number 3.
I'm Jen.
Yeah. I'm Amanda.
Kathleen.
And Haley.
And Anna, who now probably is out of the frame. But which may be a good thing. We're again coming to you from our home. And, she's back. She saw herself on TV last time, and she was kind of excited, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, she does watch TV sometimes.
She does.
But then she's, like, camera shy. So.
She likes Jeopardy. She does.
She answers all the questions.
Don't know about that. All right. So, around town is pretty much the same as it's been. We're social distancing. We're staying in the house 95% of the time. I think actually the last week I've been in even more than I had been before that. I think reading all the stuff about runners breathing hard and everything made me not go out as much. And it's also been cold the last little bit.
I
Colder.
know. It was like nice, like there was like a week or something where it was like 70
Springish.
And now it's like
it was in the low 30s this morning when I first went outside, and we were going to actually podcast from outside today on our back porch, which we really like and spend a lot of time on when it's warm. But it is not warm today. It is barely 50.
Nature betrayed us.
So what else would you like to say, Haley, about around town?
Well, since nothing really much has changed, we just wanted to thank everyone who is an essential worker and who is out and doesn't have the privilege to just stay at home.
Yes.
And all the healthcare workers who are putting themselves out there and sacrificing their time and hopefully not their health. Hopefully everyone is staying as healthy as they can, but really just a thank you. And locally, if you do have the means, you can try to support local food businesses by ordering dinner once every so often. Just like us to help that ensure that they're still there when this is over.
We are ordering from Stuffed Burgers, which is diagonally across the street from Yarnia tonight.
It's in the view.
And I'm dropping off a yarn order there for the owner's mom and picking up our dinner. So it has already been ordered.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
It is. It's very nice. So, all right. So that is our around town. And I think Haley's right. I think that may be Anna's star turn for the week. And we will.
And it is time to go.
Time to say bye, Anna.
But
all right.
We've been getting some really positive comments, which I appreciate very much. Thank you so much. It makes a difference when we're trying to put content out to know that folks are enjoying it, and we're trying to keep a little bit of normal, even though it's a very not normal time. But let's see. First, I want to talk about, so last episode, Kathleen showed you the face masks that she was making, the cloth face masks, which of course we're all recommended to wear when we go out. And so I went stash diving in my fabric stash and found some fabric. And then over spring break, which was the last couple of weeks, the kids are back to school this week, but the last couple of weeks were spring break. And one day we didn't do schoolwork and all we did was make some masks. I really wanted to make one for my husband, who's been doing most of the food shopping and going out, and he's doing all the deliveries for Yarnia, taking them to the post office, so which is really great, but he needed a mask, so I made one for him. I made one for me, and then I used it as an opportunity to teach, or to do a little bit of teaching with my little kids about measuring and cutting evenly, and just making sure that we're all checking before we cut and those type of things. And so they had a lot of fun, and I've got a couple of our masks to show you today. So first, this is mine. I used Sue's instructions, but I have to say I am not the seamstress that Sue Morrocco is. If you followed her YouTube tutorial down below, I mean, hers look pristine. Mine do not. But I'll tell you about our trial and error. So this is mine. I'll hold it up. Yeah, see? And mine goes around my head instead of over my ears. Yeah, so. Yeah, so mine goes over my head instead of behind my ears. I just find that a little more comfortable. It doesn't use that much more elastic. And my elastic was really skinny anyway, because that's what I had in my fabric stash. Ugh. So yeah, so I just made mine out of quilting cotton. Now I'll tell you what we tried first. First I thought it would be more effective to use some felt in the middle. And I had some yellow felt left over from Eric's Pikachu Halloween costume last Halloween. So I was like, okay, we're going to make I'm going to make them with the little felt in the middle and just have like the cotton on the outsides. That didn't work, and it could be just me. I mean, you'll see even like my pleats are not awesome and great. Like actually in the past I have sewed pretty well, but I was reminded by this project why I don't sew currently. Sewing with little kids is a pain, a big pain. So yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but when I sew, I want like a whole Saturday afternoon, just me, where I can lay out my fabric on a flat, empty floor, measure out my pieces, really pay attention, cut things out like just right, pin them all together, and then like sort of process make my garment. But with kids, you're like cutting on, I'd be cutting like one piece of fabric, and then, oh my goodness, they're playing with the pins on the other side of the table, and somebody else is trying to design theirs. And yeah, so I was like, it's not preferable. Maybe I'll just stick to knitting and crochet for now, and I'll get to sewing when kids are older, which is fine. I used to sew when my oldest was, before she was born. I made a lot of my own maternity clothes, and like I made stuff, but now it's just not, it's not the thing. But that's fine. We all have seasons, and you do what's good for you now, and you've got plenty of time later for the other stuff. So I'm sure I'll get back to sewing, and I'll use up my stash. Right now, I only very occasionally make a knitting bag, which I don't even need another one right now, so that'll probably be on hold too. But anyway, back to masks. So this one was mine. I asked Abby if she knew where hers was, and she didn't. But hers was like, on the outside, it's like a silver lame. And she embroidered, like hand embroidered, well, she hand appliqued. She cut out some a pink heart and a yellow star, and she appliqued them to the front of hers before we sewed it up. And then Eric, this is Eric's, he cut out a Pikachu. I told you Pikachu was a thing. Yeah, so Eric cut out a Pikachu, and he like colored it himself. Yeah. See, my pleats are not good. I don't mind. It's okay. But yeah, so the kids like design their own. Mine and Jeff's are sort of whatever I had in stash and sort of boring. None of the pleats are great, but you know what? They work pretty well. The kids wore them. They went bike riding at, well, they're both learning to ride their bikes, hopefully, with no training wheels. So they went to a parking lot that's, of course, they're all totally empty. That's really nearby, and they just rode in circles around the parking lot, because our backyard has pavers, which are all uneven. So yeah, so these are our masks. These are what we've been working on. We went through my whole, I don't have, like I said, I haven't sewed in a long time. I don't have a huge stash. What I did have was sort of bag stuff, and we went through all my elastic. So if I had more, I would donate it to people who are much more competent mask makers than I am, but that's it. So one other thing that's been going on around town, if you're also out of elastic and are wondering how you can help out, Kathleen was talking about making face masks for first responders and things like that. And there's organizations that are accepting those, and I'll put some of those in the down bar. But also, Beth, who you met on a prior podcast, she and her daughter Danny have been making ear savers, right? They're crocheting them, so they're like short oval pieces about this big, and they have buttons on them. So if you have a mask, yeah, so if you're making masks that go over your ears, right, those, oh, I can't imagine wearing this elastic all day over my ears. Oh, that would hurt so bad. So instead, you can put it around the buttons on either side, and it goes around the back of your head, and it just makes it so much more comfortable, especially if you're wearing these every day, all the time. So those are great. And so I'm going to ask Beth and also put that link down below. I'll put a picture here too of some of the ear savers that she and Danny have made. So if you're interested in participating in that I'll definitely link those below. And then just one last note, and I did want to note this. I noticed on Ravelry, right, that Ravelry has updated its front page just to list some resources. I think most of us, when we started this in the middle of March, thought we'd be at home for a couple of weeks, maybe 3, and now it looks like it's going to be a lot longer. Which is not our normal lives that we're used to at all. And of course that can all of us are dealing with it in different ways. It's definitely stressful. I see it stressing out my older girls. I feel like I'm in sort of a groove now and mostly okay. My husband and I are more, if we can be homebodies anyway, we're not going out that much. So it's just weird, right? Easter was, we celebrate Easter and we usually have a day around a lot of people, and this time it wasn't. But Ravelry has, recognizing that they are a huge community, brought together some resources for community members who may feel like they're struggling with that, with this new normal, or it's not normal. And I'm going to link those below too. So, any kind of depression, anxiety, isolation issues, definitely don't just settle for it, because you don't have to. And there are definitely resources out there. If you want to, if it's one little thing that can help, coming to our virtual knit nights on Wednesdays. We did take the link off of our website just to avoid any Zoom booming. Folks that want to join for not the best reasons, just to get a laugh out of harassing folks. We don't need that in our knit night. But if you register, I'll send you the link. It's a repeating meeting, so the link will be good from week to week. And yeah, it'll definitely, we have the knit night on Wednesday nights, which of course all crafts are welcome. And we also have Crochet Sundays on Sunday, which is a very small group usually. And more than just crochet. You can bring your knitting, bring your weaving, bring your spinning, whatever you like. Jen was spinning last Wednesday. Oh man, it's easier to break out all the crafts when you're just on Zoom. So yeah, I definitely wanted to mention that and put the resources from Ravelry down below. Okay.
Anyway, continuing on. Let's see, what do I have to talk about? So I have Going On Around Town. Going On Around Town has been, I'm still making sourdough bread. I am now making sourdough baguettes, but they're not super baguette-y because I'm not really good at the shaping part. I'm getting better. Anyway, again, if you want to know sourdough info, comment below. I'll chime in. I'll let you know. I'll give you my percentages. I'll tell you my recipe. And if you're local, I am happy to share starter with you. Just hit me up and let me know. I might run low on jars though. I've been spreading it around as much as possible, which my husband is not super happy about because that minimizes the amount of starter that he has to make waffles or bagels or what else is he making? Waffles, mostly, and pancakes and some bagels. So anyway, so the other thing that's going on around town, at least for me, is that there's been a little bit more social interaction online, which is great. A really good friend of mine, Curran, is a crazy talented jazz singer. She normally sings at various different nightclubs around town, around New York. And she also sings with the Louis Prima Jr. band. And so she hasn't been able to do any of her normal gigs. But what she's done instead, I feel like, has completely changed my life a little bit, in that she is doing a ukulele quarantine theater on Facebook and Instagram. Highly recommend it. She is doing covers of some jazz songs, some pop songs. She's taking requests. They're basically, the locale is somewhere around her house where she doesn't have her 3 children. But her voice is like crazy amazing, and she's been doing it almost every day, not on weekends, but almost every day for a couple of weeks. And it's seriously been such a bright spot in my day, which I keep telling her that, but I'm like, it's your friend. So you're like, sure. But now I'm going to tell all you this, and that way you can go visit her on Ukulele Quarantine Theater, which I think Amanda will link below. I'll send her the link. Follow her on Instagram, follow her on Facebook. She's just an amazing talent. I couldn't actually pick out which of my favorite covers she did, but she did do one that was dedicated to my son Ollie, because he requested it, of Rainbow Connection, that he watched like 4 times before he went to bed, which was like, he loves her. So anyway, go check that out. It's super fun. It's not necessarily knitting related, but maybe it's a nice thing to watch while you're working on your knitting or you're crocheting, something like that.
Okay, so let me talk about finished objects. And I only have one. I finished my Ambient Socks. Yay. This is the second pattern in Helen Stewart's Handmade Sock Society, number 3. They're really lovely. I had a close-up on my hand last week. I think I'm going to insert a photo here to show you how they look on feet, because they do look nicer on feet than they look in person. It's just like the lace opens up when they're on feet. And I don't have sock blockers. If I did, I would show you. But yeah, so you can see I made these out of Ancient Arts Sock NATO in the color Edgemont and Nishwain. When I started these, we had just started our stay at home, and I really liked that it was a little bit of Montclair that I'm knitting with. So these are the Edgemont and Nishwain color from Ancient Arts that we had special dyed for our Kickstarter. And then the heels and toes are in Prussian blue. They are a knitted wit gumball, which is just perfect to do heels, toes, and cuffs. One gumball will do heels, toes, and cuffs of an adult sock if you're the same size as me, which is a lady's 8.5. But yeah, so I like these. I will say, let's see, they were supposed to be Eye of Partridge heel. I did slip stitch heel because you might not be able to even see it. Yeah, maybe a little bit. Because I didn't read the pattern and my brain was on slip stitch, so that's what I did. And you can also see Ancient Arts is hand dyed, right? Each batch is dyed separately. I think they're done in 4 or 6 skein lots. That's how a lot of hand dyed yarns are done. It's not a large bath. They're like in, when you see catering trays, right? That's about how big a batch is. And I started with mine, my leftovers from my Montclair flare shawl. And then I had to go into Kathleen's halfway through the second sock, and you can definitely see they were from their brothers, but from definitely different dye lots. This side has more blue, and then you can see the line here, and this side has more yellow. So yeah, but I like them. So those are my Ambient Socks by Helen Stewart. And at first, Helen Stewart was putting out a sock a month, and I thought that was way too much. And we weren't going to be able to finish the sock every month, but apparently that's not going to be a problem since we're all stuck at home. Okay.
Anyway, let's see. Going to finished objects. What do I have? Let's see if I did this in the right order this time. So we're going to finished objects. I am wearing my Antler sweater, which you guys have seen me wear before. This is out of the Spud and Chloe sweater. I really love this sweater. It fits really nicely. This was for our winter sweater class last winter. This past winter? I don't know. What do you call it? Whatever. This past winter. And you can do this. This is a Tin Can Knits pattern. It's for worsted weight or Aran weight. Spud and Chloe sweater, which we have at the store, is 50% wool, 50% cotton. So it makes it super wearable for this time of year, especially when it's like one of those like gray and rainy, chilly days where it's coldish, but you're not super cold. So maybe 100% wool might be too much. And it has really great stitch definition because that really makes these antler cables pop. There's a whole antler suite from Tin Can Knits. You can do this in a pullover as I did. There's a cardigan. There's a hat. There are mittens. And because Tin Can Knits is amazing, the sizes go from like 0 to like 6X, which is fantastic. I love their patterns. If you haven't noticed, I tend to choose them a lot. Part of it is because of their extended sizing. I really like that. Let's see, what else do I have finished? Oh, I have one more thing finished. It's not really an object per se, so much as it is a swatch for demonstrating. This one is a stockinette swatch out of Cascade 128. Cascade 128. And this is a garter swatch out of Cascade 128. This one has a slip stitch edging on this side. This one has a normal edging on this side. And same for the stockinette. We did a regular edge here and a chained slip stitch edge here. Now, you might be asking yourself, why is she showing me swatches? Because that's ridiculous, and kind of is. It's not for a project, but it is for demos. So, Amanda suggested, and I finally got a hold of an overhead camera mount so I could record a couple of demonstrations, including one on how to pick up stitches, or at least how to pick up stitches the way I do it. And kind of a little bit about why you pick up stitches the way that you do. So I think she's going to throw them at the end of the podcast, and she'll put them on separately. So we'll see just how good my camera skills are. Not as good as hers, just saying. And luckily no children interrupted me because I did do those at the kitchen table. I should have taken a picture of the rig that I had because it was a little ridiculous. It was like this like cheapo phone mount stacked on a bunch of cookbooks with some cookbooks on top of it to keep it from tipping over. And I like kicked everybody out of the kitchen and was like, let me do this. But hopefully these swatches will be helpful. I've hung on to them, so if we do any additional demos, maybe seaming or something like that, I can show, or if I need to reshoot them, which Amanda will let me know, hopefully. So that's it for finished objects.
Kathleen and Haley again, now with our finished objects. Why don't you go first, since you have a real finished or a serious finished object this time, and I don't.
Put yourself down.
Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks.
so
It's an avocado.
It's an avocado. I've taught many Vine references.
Yes.
So here I am, and this, as you saw last time,
This
was
your whip
almost
last time.
done. Or no, when I showed it, it wasn't almost
You
done.
were just past the
But
sleeve divide, I
if
think.
you did see the, if you attended one of the knit nights, you saw it as
That's right.
it was almost done and finished.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have it starts with a G, Granite Yoke Granite Yoke Tee by Knits and Knots, and I really am a fan of this pattern because it's pretty much as simple as you can get. It's a linen stitch, which is nicer because it makes a bit more of a, I don't want to say looser fabric, but almost
Like
more
flexible,
of a knitted fabric, more of
yeah.
like a clothing fabric, because sometimes one reason people haven't made crochet patterns for wearable items is because the fabric can be stiff, definitely in comparison to knit fabric, which is, I love the look of knit fabric. I just I can't finish anything when I just can't do it. So, I really do like, and I think that this yarn will, like, it's kind of a little stiff at the bottom.
You haven't blocked it.
But I think once I block it, it'll loosen up a little bit. But it's really simple. It's just
so cute. It's adorable.
It's a top-down pattern, and you just start. It's and it is size inclusive, which I forgot to mention last time I talked about it, which is really nice because for different body sizes or just for different yarn sizes, you can use the different sizes. And for this one, one of my whips is another one. I used just Ancient Arts fingering, which is a bit thick fingering, right? So it's like
it's a little bulkier.
On the heavy fingering side. So I made a size small, and the it was written for a DK weight, I believe, or maybe sport. But and the Lyra
Space
Cadet is even thicker than that.
It is a sport.
So that's just, but they work well enough together. They're close enough.
They do, and they really yards per ounce were pretty comparable.
Yeah,
they weren't
they
too
were
different.
the same.
Yeah.
So what's actually surprising is all the gray is 400 yards, which that shows you that crochet takes up so much more per square inch, I guess. Per stitch than knitting does, because this doesn't look like it would be. I mean, yes, it is the sleeves, so it's wider and then it goes narrower, but you wouldn't think that that's 400, and this is about maybe 300.
It was 273 or something like that.
That's what the second one is. So, but it's a wearable item. So it was from my stash. So I'm really glad that
it's a stash you got at Yarnia. Right.
It was in my stash bucket.
I know, but I'm just saying it was stash acquired from Yarnia. So both of those yarns are yarns we carry.
Yes.
If someone cares. That's all.
So that's my finished object. I've been wearing it in the house because outside is not an option. So there you go.
And it's adorable. And you'll see when we get on to works in progress
foreshadowing
how cute it was and how Haley was inspired right away to move on to something else. It's very related. So my one finished object, and I think I talked a little bit about these last time. Was this a whip last time? Maybe it was. I don't know.
I think just at Knit Night you showed it.
Yeah, maybe. So one of our customers, we're doing local delivery and shipping all over the U.S. And Amanda's manning the email, I'm manning the phone and the voicemail and the texts. And so one customer that I talked to a couple of weeks ago said, I need to do something really mindless. I want to be knitting. I want to be keeping my hands busy when I have the time. Because as many people, there are people who are still working full time and having to do their shopping carefully and probably cooking from home most days and everything. And people who have got kids at home, they're helping them with their schooling and everything. There's just so much going on. She's like, at those few minutes I can be doing something, I want to be knitting, but something simple.
And feel productive. But that's like how everyone is now. Like if I read, this really helped me actually at college. I forget, it might have just been like a tweet or someone said something, but I saw that if you make your bed as the first thing, you've done one productive thing. And even if you do nothing else that day, you made your bed, and that's one productive thing. So.
And also seeing a made bed is very...
Yeah, especially when you have like 50 square feet and that's your only space. Having your bed made is definitely productive. It makes your mind set.
And inspires you to feel like, all right, things are in control a little bit. And whatever. So this customer said, that she wanted to be doing some dishcloths, and she found a really cute pattern on Ravelry, and we got her some yarn for that, and she was working on it, and that inspired me to do something similar. So I happened to pull out some stash yarn that I had, and this is pre-Yarnia stash yarn, that we do have something similar. And what I did was the Ballband Dishcloth, except we don't really use dishcloths, we use sponges, but we do use dish towels. So my Ballband Dishcloth is a dish towel, and I just went as far as I could with the yarn that I had. And actually, with this kind of pattern, you're using about twice as much of the, technically this is the accent color because you start with the background color. Use about twice as much, in my case, of the light white as you do of the aqua. And that's about how much yarn I had. So it worked out really nicely. I think, in fact, when I finished it, I would have done another row before the bind off, but I didn't have enough. So I really used exactly what I had with that. It was kind of fun. And so that is my one finished object. And
it's useful.
It is very useful. I haven't used it yet. I saved it to show it to you all first. But yeah, it was really fun to do. And yeah, so we'll talk. There are more related items in the mix.
More foreshadowing.
Yes, exactly.
Let's see what's next. Works in progress. What do I have? Works in progress. I haven't been doing a whole heck of a lot in terms of my Dame de Fer cardigan, which is the fingering weight gray textured yoke cardigan. And that's mainly because I'm easily distracted and having a hard time focusing on really long swaths of stockinette. It's really the pearl rows that are killing me right now. And I haven't necessarily been able to start a ton of things either. Again, my focus is just super pulled. I know some people are being like exceptionally creative in this time, and I'm having a hard time with that. I don't know why. I just am. So I feel like there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure as creative people to sit there and be like, be creative, have this time. And I'm like, y'all, I can't. So to a certain extent, I kind of still have my mental list of things that I want to do. One of the things that I'm going to do at some point is print out the colorwork pattern for the Flea ladies cardigan. And while my little one is working on his remote kindergarten, I can steal his crayons and try out some color patterning without having to swatch in preparation for swatch. So I'm gonna see if I can get that done this coming week. I don't know that I'm gonna, but it's on the list. We'll see how much on the list happens, because right now not a lot of things on the list are happening. The one thing I have been doing is I've been spinning pretty frequently, and that's partially because I have my spinning set up in two spaces in the house. I have one up here with my Hanson mini spinner, which is an electric spinner, back there, and I'll either show a shot or I'll do a little wander that Amanda can edit in or rework or not include. And then downstairs I have my main wheel, which is the Shocked Sidekick, which we sell at the store. We're a Shock dealer, and I have that downstairs because it's a little bit quieter, and the reason I'm going like this is because it's a dual pedal spinning wheel. And it's a pretty teal color. I like the color of the wheel itself is teal, which I will straight up admit that is the reason I picked that over the Ladybug. Plus it folds, but it's teal, so clearly I picked it. You see the teal thing there. So I've been doing a lot of spinning. I've been a member of a couple of fiber clubs for a couple of years, so I have a really big stash of fiber that I've been spinning up. So I'll show you a couple of things. I've spun a whole bunch and I've wound it into a ball, but I haven't wound them onto my Nitty Notty in order to finish the skeins. So here's a big tip. If you are a spinner and you're not happy with the way that your yarn looks when it comes off the wheel or the spinner or your bobbin, make sure you finish your yarn, which is to say, wind it into a skein, tie that skein in at least 4 places, 8's better, and finish your yarn by soaking it in crazy hot water, even if it's wool, because that'll set the twist, the yarn will bloom. I kind of wish I had an example of yarn that I hadn't finished and yarn that I have, because you'll see like, if you take a look at this, that's not the best section, this yarn, which is plied. Right now it's pulled a little tight. It's a little firm. But when I soak this in water with a little bit of soaked wool wash and swish the skein around and let it sit for a bit and then maybe beat it up a little, like, and when I say beat it up, I mean take the skein and go thwack, thwack, thwack. To help distribute the twist, the yarn will really bloom and it'll come into its own. As an example, this is merino tencel, and it's a 80% merino and 80% tencel. So I expect this to really kind of poof up, but still have a lot of drape, and the poof from the merino and the drape from the tencel. It feels really nice. So I still have my 8 ounces of this spun up, and let me pick another color. Here's a braid that was multicolored that I broke into 2 colors. So I have my blues, my cools, and I have my slightly warms. It's funny, I don't really lean towards warm colors all that much, but I really like this warm one over the blue, which is surprising for me. And this one is Cheviot. One of the things that I like about spinning is that you can really pick your fiber. A lot of times when you have commercial yarn, sometimes it's breed specific. Swan's Island and Northlight especially is fantastic for having breed specific wools, but a lot of times you'll get your standard, like, it's merino, and you're like, okay, merino's a breed. And sometimes you'll get wool, and wool is a mix of a lot of different breeds, and so you can tell the difference between different breed specific wools, especially if you're a spinner. So for example, Blueface Leicester spins differently than Polwarth, which spins differently than merino, which all of those spin differently than silk, and they all spin differently than cotton. So there's a number of different types of wool that you can spin, and Cheviot spins really nicely. I don't love the feel of Cheviot. It's a little bit more rustic than I like. My favorite is Polwarth. It's bouncy, it's squishy, it's delightful. I love it. It takes color beautifully. And just to show you an example of what a braid looks like unspun, let me grab one. Here's a really pretty one. This will probably be my next spin, and I can't remember. This may have come from the store. It may not have. I do not remember, but I have it in a pretty braid, which is always nice to, arrange and be like, look at the colors, and I feel it's so squashy. This is out of its packaging, so I don't know what fiber it is. So, surprise. I'm not very good about that, but we'll figure it out later. I'll show you my mini spinner now. Hold on. There we go. Here's my mini spinner rig. This is from Hanson Crafts, and it's an electronic spinner. I also have a battery for it, so I can use it out and about. And this right here is my blending board. And what I do with the blending board is that I take solid colors or different colors, and I can blend them into roving or top. This is like 6 different colors of blended fiber. It's a super fun tool to use and to make your own colors of spinning. So
now on to works in progress. Let's see, the first, I'll give you an update on my Damejakka Loppa, which I've quickly tried on last week. There's not much of an update, but I do want to talk about, this is a preview of potential problems to come. So Damejakka Loppa, like I said, it does have 2 button bands. Yay! Next week it'll definitely have like this much of a sleeve, because this is going to be a very good conference call project this week, although I am sidetracked. But yay, button band done. Oh, I forgot to mention on the podcast last time, which was terrible, and someone from Ravelry ask me a question. And of course you can still, we have a knit along for this, yay! We're knitting along the Damejakka Loppa. There's a thread in our Ravelry group with all the rules. Let me see if I can remember most of them. At least most of the yarn has to come from Yarnia. I'm using Phenol Yarn by Rauma in 6 different colors. You don't have to use Phenol Yarn. You can use something else if you want. Just be forewarned. This is a steeked cardigan, so you are cutting it. If you use a superwash wool, which you totally can, you probably want to machine stitch it before we steek it, right? There are also versions, if you don't want a cardigan and you want a pullover, there are versions that are a pullover. And you can check those out on Ravelry. There are lots of this project. So a good opportunity to see different colors that this project can be in, different ways it can be knitted, see folks' comments. But one thing I really liked about it that I mentioned, I think probably many times, is that there's no more than 3 strands carried in any of this color work, right? Which means you don't have to catch any of your floats in the back of your color work knitting. Yay! It just makes for nice, really nice knitting. It's easy. Let's see. So yeah, so picked up the button band. Did not get a tutorial from Jen. Picked up the first side. I think I did okay. We talked about that last time. Then I did the second side. This second side, I don't know what was different about it. I found it much harder to pick up. It just was like fidgetier. I don't know why. I don't think I was doing anything different. Maybe the first side was hard and I just had more brain power. Yeah, so basically I caught so when you're knitting like this, right, your steek, you have stockinette, and you have 1 row of purls, and you have stockinette in the middle of your steek, another row of purls, and then stockinette again to sort of delineate where that is. And you say you've got like 2 ditches on either side of where you're going to be cutting to delineate it. Those are the purl bar, like columns going through your work. So you can really see where you're supposed to pick up stitches. So I picked up, I was reading Isolde Teague's note about picking up for button bands, and she said she picked up actually the purls, like somehow in the band, in that purl ditch. I picked up the outside loop of that last stockinette and 1 stitch in the ditch. Right? So we'll see how that goes. I think it actually, I like this side better than the other side because I think I was a little more consistent. So yeah. I'm also thinking there was an article on Mason Dixon knitting about felting your steek, which I think I might try too, because a lot of these, you're changing colors frequently here. And I'll find a lot of these edge stitches right here a little bit loose, like where you're changing colors from one to the other, and you change colors in your steek. And I don't want anything to pull out, so I think I might try that technique. We'll see how it goes. I'll let you know, but it might not be till June until I try that out, because I'll finish the sleeves first. Okay, but I did do the buttonholes. You can see this side has holes in it here. And I followed the pattern exactly. The pattern said to pick up and knit, right? And then do 3 rows. I think I actually did 4. And then do your buttonholes. And these are 2 stitch buttonholes. So you cast off 2 on one row, and then you cast on to the following row right over those to make a little hole, right? Right there. I laid out my cardigan like this, and I put stitch markers at the top and the bottom. And then I divided by 9 because I wanted 10 buttons. So I divided by 9, right? Because that's, by 9, because that's how many sections you have between. You start off with 1, And you have 9 sections. So your remaining work has to be divided by 9 in order to find your 10 spaces or your 10 placements for buttonholes. So it was like 10.1 stitches for each one. So I basically moved I do 10 and 10, then 11, and then 10, 10, and 11, something like that. Anyway, it worked out fine. And then I've fiddled them around until I got them. But what I'm thinking, so the thing about these buttonholes is that I feel like they're not in the center. See? They're like very much closer to the fabric of the sweater than they are to the edge of the button band. And maybe that's okay, right? Like if this ends up pulling a little bit, then the tension will make it optically seem more in the center of the button band, but it's definitely not in the center of the button band because it's a 14 stitch button band and I put the buttonholes at between rows 4 and 5. So anyway, this is an experiment sweater. We learn everything. We learn new things every time we knit something. But if you're knitting this and want to see how it turns out, maybe hold off on that last button band until I finish mine. Or until, until Jen or Evelyn tells us the proper way to place your buttonholes. I could have done it between like 8 and 9 and it would look more centered. But I don't know if it's supposed to, so we'll see. Anyway, so that's that. That's my progress on Damejakka Loppa this week. Button bands. Okay, next, the other thing that has gotten a lot of my time, and which I really, really love, is the Elder Throw. The Elder Throw by Lisa Richardson, and she works for Rowan. She's on the Rowan design team, and so I finished the first clue, and I'll show it to you. I have not woven in any of my ends like I said last week I would. So it'll be a task to do sometime, but right now they're not woven in. But this first clue uses all 15 shades of, or 13 shades in the pattern, right? And it's mitered squares. And so you do 4 squares. And the way these are put together is you do these 2 that are, I'd say, you do 2 squares, like this orange-white one and this yellow-purple one. You do those 2. And then, like, for this green-blue one, then you pick up stitches on the edge here, you pick up stitches on the edge here, and then you do mitered square out. And then the same thing for this one, right? Pick up stitches, mitered square out. Really great technique. That means no seaming between any of these mitered squares. Yay! Let's see. Was that 4? 1, 2, 3. Well, there was a 4th. I don't know where the 4th small square went. It's probably, I think I was using it to teach because I helped somebody at our help time get started in just tips and tricks and things I've learned through doing the first section. So I probably left it at my desk. But I did finish the center as well and have not seamed it. So here is the center. Yay! And so these are similarly done, right? First, second, third, fourth. These are picked up and knit, and then you pick up and knit, pick up this yellow one at the bottom, then you pick up this purple one here, but it's knit down, so you only pick up one and then you cast on here. So it's knit down so that this top one is not going in the same direction as this one, which I thought was really clever. I was like, why are we just not picking up and knitting this way and out? But then I was thinking about it and it's like, oh, it's so you don't have 2 squares next to each other going in the same direction. So you do have to seam some things. I gotta seam that little bit right there. But yay, this was delightful. Then Clue 2 came out, so I started Clue 2. And Clue 2 is a lace pattern, so let's see if I can do a close-up there. Yeah, it's a really simple lace pattern. It's yarn over knit 2, or it's actually yarn over some purl 2-togethers and yarn over some slip knits. Just make some nice lacy columns. So this is the first one to do. I started the second one in this rust color. It's ginger. So in this ginger color, I started the second one. I'm only like 4 rows in on that side. And so that's this center, and then that one will be done. And I like that we start on the big one, because that means the biggest work is out of the way. Because then, similar concept, I'll just pick up here and do the lace, and here and do the lace. But these, of course, have 2/3 of the stitches that those do. So I actually finished that purple one in a day, but it was a day of a lot of knitting. So I think I should be able to stay mostly on track. We'll see. We'll see. But I did start another along. Because I saw on Knitting Fever's Facebook page that they were starting a crochet along. And as you know, I have finished my shawl, right? My Through the Cloud shawl by Rachel New, and I had that last time. So I finished that. I have nothing on my hooks. I'm waiting to start our blanket crochet along, which we haven't gotten the yarn for it yet. So that might not start until like June, because maybe May. Depends on when it comes in, late May. Because I figure, right, once yarn comes in, people have to like decide, and we've got to get sort of things organized. So it'll probably be until June before we actually start. But that's okay. I'm not in a rush. But in the meantime, I wanted to crochet something. So also I forgot to say about the Rowan. Great video support. There's tutorials for every square. And that's another good reason that I'm like mentioning these knit-alongs and crochet-alongs, because these yarn companies are able to put together some really well-produced video tutorials. Yay! So these are, the name is easy, the Noro Crochet Slippers by Yoko Hatta. So I'll put her name down here. This is the first time I've worked a pattern by this designer. But so far, I'll bare my soles. So far I have 2 soles. Yay! These are super fast. These totally might be Christmas presents. We shall see. Or I might do more for Christmas presents if they turn out well. Because each of these soles took me like 2 hours each. No problem. There's 7 rounds. Look at that. I love Noro so much. And then that's another part of the colorway. But yeah, so the stitches that are used in this is chain, single crochet, half double crochet, and double crochet. So, and this was in the very first issue of Noro magazine, but now Knitting Fever for this knit along has made it a free pattern, so you can download it at their Facebook page, and maybe at their website too, but it's definitely on their Facebook page. There's a Facebook group for this. It's a free Facebook group to join. Video tutorials are coming out, and all you need is 2 skeins of Noro Curran, or a worsted yarn of your choice. Noro Curran is going to right? I mean, the colors are just freaking awesome. I love it. Yeah, so this blue that's the bottom of one shoe is going to be the top of the other one. This one, right? And then this one goes to that one. I just love this colorway. But yeah, I should have some slippers by next time. I probably will have worn my slippers by next time. Maybe not. I tend to save my works until you guys at least see them, and then I'll wear them. But yeah, so crochet, Noro Crochet Slippers. Totally recommend. Very fast project, and yeah, you got a good sense of accomplishment after 2 hours. Yeah. I will put a picture of, like I said, these slippers are done in 2 skeins of the Noro Curran. So that's worsted. And I'll put a picture in here of our wall of Curran, or maybe I'll pull some out and show you the different colorways that we have, because we did just get a Curran shipment in February, at the end of February, that just got on the shelf probably like a week before we weren't open to the public anymore. Wow. So you guys haven't even seen all of them.
So
here we are again.
We are back with some whips this time. So the pattern that the customer that I mentioned was doing is called the Linoleum Dishcloth. And so I started with some King Cole Cotton Soft that happened to be here in my house. It was going from the warehouse to the store. And I grabbed a couple of skeins of that and I played around with it. And I like it, but I didn't love it for this particular pattern. And again, I decided I wanted to make it bigger, and I wanted to make it a dish towel rather than a dishcloth. And so I got some hand knit cotton, and I don't know, I must not have been paying attention when I was doing this because the pattern is way off. But I do like this yarn for this. And again, I'm gonna make it more of a dishcloth size. So both the one that I completed and this one are patterns that you can find on Ravelry, and they're ones that were originally on the Mason-Dixon blog. So the finished object was it was called the Ballband Dishcloth, and this is the Linoleum Dishcloth. And I'll show you. Since it was from a blog, I just copied it into a Word document, and that's what my personal version looks like. But it's such a cute picture. It's so retro. I love retro kitchen things.
And I had no idea what she meant by linoleum, because I
That's
just
right.
thought,
You had never heard of linoleum, or?
Well, no, I just didn't know what the pattern was. I think of linoleum and I think of like the gray tile.
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
I was like, how are you?
That's boring linoleum. Oh, when we when my husband, when Haley's dad, Gene, his family gave up their big house in North Carolina, we took a lot of their furniture up here.
Stolen.
No, they were like, please take it. We don't want to sell it. We don't want to give it away. And one thing that we got, it was actually the first thing that went in, we took a whole U-Haul back. We had our apartment in Hoboken, drive. 500 miles. Our apartment in Hoboken actually came with a storage space, which was so cool. It was like a 10 by 10 storage space. It was like in the basement. It had a storage space. Every apartment, there were like 5 or 7 apartments in the building, and everyone had its own like storage corral. So it wasn't completely secure, but everyone in the building knew each other. We didn't worry about, I mean, I wouldn't have left a big pile of money in there, but but like old furniture, hey, it was fine. So the first thing that went into the moving truck was the linoleum that was on their back porch, and it was like a tapestry carpet. It was the coolest thing. And his mom was so excited that I liked it and that I wanted to take it. She's like, I thought this thing was done for. And I'm glad someone else appreciates it. So linoleum is near and dear to my heart, actually. Oh. I'll have to see if I can find a picture of anything similar. It was, I've never seen anything like it before. It was a, say like 6 by 8 piece of linoleum that looked like a tapestry rug.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was really cool. Really, really cool.
Where did you put it?
It was on our porch, the front porch of our first house in Montclair when we moved there. Like that was when we first got to use it. So it just was always the first layer. It was under everything else. It was very old and brittle. Back to the retro kitchen things. Yeah. The other thing, when I was playing around with this.
And watching me do mine.
Yeah. I don't love knitting cotton as much as I enjoy crocheting with it. I feel like cotton and other natural fibers like that, other, plant fibers, can be a little hard on your hands because they don't have a lot of stretch naturally. And so I decided to do my own take. After I finished the Ballband, I decided to do my own take on a dishcloth or dish towel. And this is what I came up with, which I think it is really kind of fun and retro looking. But I realized that I was not paying a whole lot of attention to my edge. Well, that one doesn't look so bad. My edges are not as straight as they should be. You can definitely see if you hold it up. So
I don't see, there's like,
yeah, it goes in.
One thing that's not that at all.
It looks narrower at the top than it does at the bottom. I need to count the stitches. I think
it's gonna be narrower at the top somewhat because the foundation crochet is so much looser.
Haley taught me foundation crochet.
Yeah, no, that's For crochet, like, I don't know, I don't know that much for knitting, but I feel like
It usually does get...
I don't know if for knitting it gets, if it's always wider at the bottom, at the base.
Not usually.
But for crochet, it's, especially when you do either a loose chain or a foundation crochet, it's like, if you do a chain and it ends up being tight, then it will look narrower at the bottom, but it's easier to work into something that's looser.
Yes.
So because of that, your gauge just naturally like adjusts when you're working the main body, and the first row will be looser. So it will have a little bit of a...
But also, you can block it, and it is a dish towel.
But yeah.
It's a
so
dish
that's
towel.
Just,
so,
it's
but
a
I'm
pattern,
excited about...
It's a frequent
issue
aspect of that. So...
But I love this. And this is linen stitch, again, as Haley said, inspired by her top. Because I'm like, that would look so cute for a dish towel. So I do need to finish this. And if I finish it, I will write it up. It's really simple, but it's one of those things. I love it when I see something simple that somebody does, and then they've actually written directions for it, because then you don't need to figure it out too. So that is on my list, which, as we know, sometimes goes on and on for a while. There are other things.
I tried to clean up my whips, like my whip corner, and I like said, okay, after I'm done with school, I'm just gonna finish all my whips. But half of them I really don't want to finish, but I also don't want to take them out. So there's an issue there.
Well, but give them a little time to percolate, and you'll see.
They've been percolating.
Well, you've reassessed them, so whatever. All right, so what do you have for your list?
So after I finished my shirt that I've been wearing, I was like, I really like that pattern. Is it weird if I just make another one?
Not at all.
And
we have been known to do that.
So yeah, so I realized that if you, like you said, if you find a pattern that you like, just do it.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Go for it. Yeah, if you find
what's
something...
the problem of making another
especially because you want to do crochet and you've had a hard time finding a crochet with that sweater that you love. So
recently, in the couple months, I have found a couple good people, designers, who make crochet sweaters, but they're like more complicated. I don't have enough, whatever. But
and you're still working on your finals and stuff. You're finishing classes,
So I
go with the flow at this point.
I wanted to make. At first, I was like, I'll just make another shirt, and then I was like, I don't want to make the exact same thing. So I looked through my stash, and I had
Haley's been doing some serious stash busting.
Yeah,
lately.
so that's one thing I wanted to. I wanted to kind of not work through all of my stash, but at least like look there first and see what I can use, because most of what I have is either from 2010, so it's probably acrylic and random, or it's a lot of
yarn that I paid her for helping with at the store,
and just like single fingerings, not single fingering, but like
single skeins of fingering.
Skeins of fingering from trunk shows when I was still here, because I missed the trunk shows when I was away, and I was really sad.
I got you stuff from some of those trunk shows.
Yeah, but I couldn't be.
I know.
So, all of these skeins are from trunk shows, and
from Yarnia.
Yes, from Yarnia trunk shows. So this is a sweater version
of
what I'm wearing, which is the Granite Yoke Tee. Yes. And I did it in, so the yellowish color here is, I hope you can see it. It's,
Backyard Fiberworks?
I don't know the color name. We will put it below.
We'll figure it out.
Yes, but it is Backyard Fiberworks, and it's the single fingering, and I'm obsessed with the way single fingering looks, and I've realized that it's not difficult to work with, but compared to like plied fingering, it is more of a like, not exactly delicate, but I'm afraid I'm gonna like
pierce it or something.
Yeah, like it's not, I don't know, it's just a different thing, because I haven't I love the look of them, and I haven't really worked with them much, like this much, so it's just like getting used to it. And then this middle blue color is
Rhythm Knits.
I have the tag, actually. Wait a minute. I can tell you what color it is. So the first color is Hosta. This is Hosta. And the second color here is Rhythm Knits.
Oh, that's right.
Into the Forest. So I really, and this one is a tiny, tiny bit thinner, but then the Backyard Fiberworks, but they are close enough, and the gauge wasn't, like, the gauge was only really important for the shoulder shaping, because it's just going around in a, like, just in the round. And then the bottom one, which is my favorite,
and I'm sure it'll be Jen's favorite too, because it's teal.
It's just so pretty. It's just got so much dimension. I hope you can see, like, the... It just looks closer. Like, it looks like a pool of water, you know?
Yeah,
with
definitely.
Like the lights and the darks, and that's what I love about working with these, because they are, I don't know if they're like semi-solids technically, but they are, because they're hand dyed. And this one is marine, so.
Also from Backyard Fiberworks.
Yes, so.
And I love what you did. I love how you transitioned from one color to the other. Like on your tee, you did more of a true fade.
On my tee, I wanted to make it more of a fade because the colors weren't exactly the same, but here, when I was working, I just decided to do like 2-3 rows of the transition. So, but it makes it like a cute little...
It's a detail. I love it.
Yeah,
it's so
cute. And I didn't want to make them exactly the same. So like, this is a little bit of... I wouldn't be surprised
if this winds up on the pattern page for this pattern. It's so pretty. It really is. It's beautiful.
And then I wanted to edge it in ribbing, and it's gonna be a sweater. It's gonna have sleeves, but which I want to do the same kind of. I saved about 20 to 10 grams per color of this.
Sleeve.
No.
Okay.
So they might end up being like
3/4 sleeves.
3/4 sleeves, which I'll be fine with. You know, it's like a handmade sweater. It'll be warm. It's fine. And it'll hopefully just, I'll do the same detail once it's running out, and then it'll just follow along the pattern. It doesn't have to match up exactly. But the bottom here is a rib, and I wanted to do some kind of like slipped rib to make it kind of look knitted. I hope you can see that it's curling a bit, but hopefully it'll flatten out when it blocks.
Okay when you block it.
And so for this, I started off doing just a slip stitch into a slip stitch rib, which looks good when the yarn is like worsted or something a lot thicker, but since it's pretty thin single fingering, it just didn't really work, and also the stitches are really tight. So I took it out and I did, and it also was taking forever.
Yeah.
So this is taking long enough. And I just started with a row of single crochet, or I guess I chained up, and then you slip down, and then you single crochet. So it's alternating slip stitch and single crochet, which still does make like a
look of ribbing. Yeah,
it does give you like the knit kind of stitch, like the V. And then actually on the back, which is one of the most interesting parts, I hope you'll be able to see it, it's a pearl. Like, it looks like a pearl, and I hope it focuses. I can't tell, but it's really crazy. Like,
we can take a couple of close-ups.
The slip stitch looks like a pearl. Like, the front kind of, you can see like the way that the V's are, but if you stretch it, it kind of doesn't look like a knit stitch. But the back, it's a pearl. Like, it's kind of crazy.
Pretty cool.
So
that's beautiful.
So I've been really enjoying working on this because just the colors and so
I bet that'll be done for next time.
The ribbing has taken so long, but it's all of this it's all linen stitch, so it's pretty easy TV crocheting.
Yes, very nice. All right, and it's funny, I didn't talk about the sweater I'm wearing, which I talked about on another podcast when I first finished it. It's the Carbeth Pullover by Kate Davies, and it's done in eco wool, and I just realized how similar. I mean, this is more of a green tone, and this is more of a gold, but
this does make it look more like straw.
Yeah.
This is what I normally think of this
as. People have a palette. This is part of my palette. Those autumnal colors. So I was really hoping to. I was gonna do my Warrior Whip today, but I didn't quite get far enough for that. Yeah. This is the Magnolia cardigan pattern that I'm doing as a pullover. I added one more repeat of the lace down the middle. Thank you. This is in Spun Right Round DK in the color Treasured. And I've done the lace, and I'm into the ribbing, and I have, I've done 3 rows of lace. 3 rows of ribbing at the end of the lace. I've got like 4 or 5 more to go, and then the bind off. And then sleeves. So, and the sleeves are going to be as long as I have yarn for. I'm going to split the skein. Wow, this actually does kind of look like a fade too. I didn't alternate skeins, or at least on the back it does. The top skein is a little bit lighter. I don't mind it. I like it.
But didn't you do the?
I did some
every
helical. I did probably the first 4 or 5 inches just with one skein, and then I brought in the second skein to alternate. And
it's so pretty. This is nice and like tonal as well.
So I'm really happy with this. Hopefully, I thought this would be a finished object for today, but it's not. But it will be soon. And actually, with the weather we've had, it'll still be cold enough to wear it when I finish it.
Nice.
So at least we'll see it then. All right, and you got
another. So since that was my main like actual like work in progress, I did want to show the kind of like it's an ongoing whip, I guess you could say. So
I have a category in Ravelry of ongoing things that I do.
Yeah, one thing, I have a list of things I can do once I'm done with school for like quarantine activities, and completely overhauling my Ravelry projects and stash is one of those things. So, just feed my organizational stuff. So, if you know me, you know I care a lot about the environment, and I'm doing all I can in my daily life to kind of mitigate my carbon footprint and just like material footprint, I guess you could say. So I try to reuse things. And also
and when actually Haley has been like this pretty much her whole life.
I know, I think about this, I'm like, where did this come from? Because like you always said like, oh, recycle, but I feel like, I don't know.
But also when she was really, really little, like she would reuse things that other people would not, and so I affectionately called her my depression baby, because she reminded me of friends of mine had parents that were older who were raised during the Depression, and literally my friend Carol's dad, he was a hoarder too. He saved lots of things, and it was because he grew up in the Depression, and really they had nothing, so they saved everything. Use of
what you have,
and when he passed away, they like in his garage they found like hundreds of Chinese food containers and their lids all piled up, used pantyhose. Some really weird things, but Haley is so I don't know, she's someone who grew up in the Depression come back again as a teenager, almost 20 something.
So I have so with that background, I became very interested in the KonMari
movement.
Yeah, I guess you could call it a movement.
Thing,
I didn't want to call it a trend, because that means it goes away sometime. But I'm a fan, and one thing that I wish was more of a like strong point in that is not just getting rid of things that don't make you happy, but donating them, making other use of them, because there's so many creative people, and I feel like I'm really good at like recreating things that other people have done and like kind of making them my own. I don't necessarily think I'm like the person to like look at a container and be like, I know exactly what I can like turn this into, but I really love like seeing things like that, and that's like a lot of what I see on even like TikTok. I got TikTok. You could count it as a mistake.
So what do you have there?
So, but like
all of that as an intro.
So here we are.
This is a giant bag of yarn scraps, is what it is.
That's what it is, and basically. Yes, that was a very long introduction.
And also, so a lot of these yarn scraps are from Yarnia. When we wind yarn, when people ask us to wind their yarn in the store, there always are the little ties
ties around
the dyers use to hold the skein together before they're dyed. Or just
little scrap bits or anything. So when we first opened, I was like, wait a minute. There's people who actually throw away yarn, and that was a cause for heart palpitations.
Yes.
So I was like, why don't we just put a little? So right now in the store we have,
and we have since day one had a little bucket.
We've had a little bucket, and it's just on the little.
I'll take a picture when I go into the store later.
It's on the little cart of the winder, and so. Over the 2.5, almost 3 years that we've had the store, this is only one of many bags. So, and
also now people come in, like, especially we have some customers that do weaving, and we've got, and with weaving, there's a lot of waste. There's a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
some customers come in and donate their weaving ends and things. Everyone's like, you're still collecting yarn for Haley, right? You're still collecting scraps.
And that's the thing, like, I want to have that as a resource. Like, if you're making, so another thing I wanted to show was that obviously I initially wanted that as just like,
don't throw it
away. You will be able to use it for something, which is kind of what I do for a lot of things that I have in my household. But one thing that immediately came to me was you could use it to stuff things. So amigurumis, I have many. I don't know exactly which ones, but we don't like buy stuffing anymore. Also, if you just buy pillows, that's a lot cheaper than buying a bag of stuffing.
Target.
So
we've done that too.
Here I have gumballs. I have
so you made gumballs.
70 gumballs.
You made gumballs out of the knitted wood gumballs.
So we have gumballs made out of the knitted wood gumballs that I stuffed with the
yarn
scraps. So and we'll put up a picture of the prototype that I have of this that I gave to my friend for her birthday last year. But you can just vision is to just make like a gumball garland. So you could use it in any kind of room as decoration, brighten up a little.
A bedroom, a baby's room.
So
a yarn store.
Yeah. So that's like an ongoing project that I have.
Yep.
So
and
those are all stuffed.
How long did you figure out it takes you to make one of those?
It takes me about 10 minutes to make one of these, and I can get max, I think, out of one knitted wick gumball of the fingering. I think I made 14 one time.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's just 6 rows. You just increase 2, do 2 rows of like straight across, so it's like 18 stitches, and then you decrease until the end. And then I have like, I just eyeball it, and then you leave enough to tie it onto your garland, but then there you are. And you can stuff anything that, like any small animal. Obviously, like if you're making a wearable item, you wouldn't stuff it with anything, but that's not a reason to not throw away your scraps. So this is my PSA, to have your own little bucket.
Yes.
Keep your yarn scraps, and then if you ever wanted to make like a scrap blanket, you can, since that's another quarantine activity, if you just wanted to tie all your scraps together and make something out of it. But there you go.
Yeah, there you go. All right. I think this could be the linen stitch episode. There's been a lot of linen stitch and all of that. And because I'm thinking, this is kind of a leap. I'm thinking about changing my scrap blanket to linen stitch.
I don't disagree. I don't dislike it.
And I delivered to one of our local customers. I delivered stuff to, she and I were going back and forth on blankets. She just took Crochet 101 with us in 2020, before all of this started. And she's really enjoying it, and she's been, she took it with Susan, and she's been working away on things in the meantime. And after the class, she made one baby blanket. I remember the yarn she came into the store for that, and she's like, I'm almost done with this one. I need yarn for another one. And we were looking, and she found on Pinterest, and then I found it was on Ravelry, a linen stitch baby blanket. And I think that's what she's going to do. But I'm kind of very into linen stitch too. It's
honestly,
nice and
me too.
flexible.
Yeah, it's not like, it's just the same kind of, it feels as basic as just single crochet. But it's
more flexible. It's got more of a fluid texture to it. And and that's the stitch that is in Rachel's Through the Cloud Stroll, which actually that's another thing. I have yarn that I had started something else, but I can just see it in that shawl. I need to get going on that. Maybe by the next episode.
The moss stitch. If you ever see a pattern
in crochet, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
Unless I'm wrong, but
you're probably right. You're right.
As far as I know.
All right, so that is our whips. All right, and we are cranking through the time here.
Let's see. Anything else? Well, I do think that's all that I have for today. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me. Would actually love to see some of your finished objects. I'm going to start a thread in Ravelry for all the finished objects that you guys are doing. So we can start celebrating those at the end of the podcast too, because I know there's a lot of our customers and our viewers who have been really stretching their creativity over the last few weeks, and would love to see some of those. Okay, and maybe as I share those, it'll inspire you to do, to pick up something new as well, or something old, or whatever makes you feel happy, because that's what knitting's for. It should make you feel good. Whether that's, even if you're struggling through something and learning something new, like I am with the button band of my Damejakka Loppa. I love it, but it's a struggle bus. Or whether it's quick and easy, like my slippers, right? It should make you feel good either way.
Okay, so new in store. I'm sure Kathleen and Amanda can tell you a little bit more about what's new in store. We also have a couple of things coming up that'll be super exciting, that we should be able to show you probably next podcast. But in the meantime, make sure that you subscribe to the newsletter, because we're putting a lot of information in that, not only about our hours, how you can shop from us, and all kinds of fun stuff like that, but also about what is new in the store. We're showing pictures, best ways to communicate with us, knit-alongs. Plus, we're putting the registration links for our knit nights and our crochet Sundays. So, especially because we're all distant right now, even if you are nowhere near New Jersey, we would love to see you at Knit Night or Crochet Sunday, and it would be super awesome to meet everybody. I'm an extrovert, and so kind of staying to just my family has been really hard. So the more like grown-up interaction we all get, I think the better. So I'm really thankful for the fact that technology is kind of saving our butts here. Otherwise, I think I would be losing it a little bit more than I already am. Anyway, that's it for me. I hope everybody is safe. I hope everybody is working on their projects or taking a break and not working on their projects, whatever you need to do to get through. And I hope everybody is doing well. So until next time, make sure to like and subscribe down below, and follow us online on Ravelry as Shop Yarnia, on Instagram Shop Yarnia, Facebook Yarnia LLC, and don't forget our website shopyarnia.com, and click on the shop tab. You can shop from us, but if you also want to, just send us an email at hello@shopyarnia and say, hey, I'm looking for some light colored worsted weight to do a sweater. What you got? And we'll get back to you. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you later. Bye.
And if you're going to be on the podcast, you have to sit nicely. She's sitting so nicely, isn't she? Yeah. All right. So
I'll show you my yarn. Here's my yarn and fiber labeled. All of that stuff, and then it goes back in there. So that's here's the fingering cabinet. Boop. And then here's more fiber down here. And I'm very carefully not showing you the rest because it's a mess. Hi everyone, it's Jen from Yarnia, Montclair's local yarn store, and I'm here to show you how to pick up stitches at the edge of a stockinette piece. This is really a technique that we use to add stitches, for example, with a button band or a steek, or to whatever your pattern calls for. But we are going to pick up stitches along this edge here. Now, often your temptation is going to be to go directly into this edge right here, single strand. I don't want you to do that. What I want you to do is to go one full stitch in. So if you take a look at our swatch here, we have this selvage stitch, which looks a little raggedy, as selvage stitches are wont to do. And this is one full stitch right there. And this is your next knit column, and that's your next knit column. You can see the V's right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in between this selvage stitch V column and this full V column. And we are going to poke our needle in, pull up a loop of yarn. I'm using contrasting green yarn here so you can really see what I'm doing. And we're going to pull up a stitch using our needle. So first things first, I'm going one full stitch in. I'm poking through this little gap. I'm going to pull these stitches apart so you can see right here. It looks almost like a ladder right there. So I'm going to go into this little guy, wrap my yarn around my needle, pull up a loop. Then I'm going to go into my next ladder hole. Make sure you don't work with the tail, as I often do. Wrap my neat yarn around, pull up a loop. Oh, I split the yarn. There we go. Pull up a loop. That's 2 stitches picked up. Now you can look and see right there, that's my 3rd hole. So I'm going to go into 3 and pull up. Now, because I'm picking up stitches with stockinette, I am going to pick up 3 stitches for every 4 rows. So I just picked up 1, 2, 3. And that means I'm going to skip this little loop right there. So that's 4. I'm skipping it. And I'm going back into 1, pull up 1. Going into 2, pull up 2. I'm going into 3, pull up 3, skip. 1, pull up 2, pull up 3, skip. Pull up 1, pull up 2, pull up 3. I'm only going to do a little bit here because I want to show you what it looks like. You can actually see the gaps where you've skipped, and I'm snugging that up a little bit right here on my needle. Now the reverse, you see a nice full chained edge. That's your selvage stitch. Remember that raggedy stitch? That's going to the inside, so you don't have to see it. Now the reason we do 3 stitches for every 4 rows is because knit stitches and stockinette are different heights than they are widths. It's not a 1-to-1. So if you picked up 1 stitch for every single row in stockinette, you'd get a very wavy button band or wavy edge. If you picked up every other stitch, you would get a very condensed or stretched, it would actually look stretched out. You wouldn't have enough of this length to go across. It would pull. So the general resource is every 3 stitches to 4 inches. So this is how we pick up the edge for a stockinette. Very, very rarely will you ever pick up a single thread. I'm going to skip a couple and I'm going to show you what picking up a single thread looks like. And the reason I don't want you to do this is 1, first off, it's harder. You don't have a clear cut edge. You see how I have to kind of like pull at it? 2, 3. Now, do you see how loopy and holy that is? That's your sleeve or your button band. Any kind of tension on that is going to pull it out. Now, if I put tension on this, look how nice that looks. Plus, you have a nice full stitch right here. It makes a nice vertical column. So if you get stuck when you're going to pick up your stitches and you're like, wait, where do I pick up? I want to go here. Don't go there. Look at your vertical column once you have it established and see, okay, right there. Oh, here's that little guy. I'm going to go here. 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 And that way you don't interrupt your nice column of stitches. I hope this was helpful. Look for our other videos about how to pick up stitches in garter stitch or in stockinette in the middle of stockinette rather than on the edge. And make sure to like and subscribe to our podcast, The Chronicles of Yarnia, on YouTube, and visit us on Ravelry as Shop Yarnia and our website, shopyarnia.com. Thanks a lot. Bye. Hi everyone, it's Jen from Yarnia, Montclair's local yarn store. We're at shopyarnia.com and you can find us on Ravelry as Shop Yarnia. Right now, today, I'm going to demonstrate how to pick up stitches along a horizontal edge of stockinette. We have another video about how to pick up stitches along the vertical edge, but today I'm going to show you how to pick up stitches along the horizontal edge. This is often used for shoulders or sleeves or anything. The nice thing about picking up stitches along a horizontal edge is that you don't have to worry about messing with the ratios. If you're picking up along a vertical edge, you have to pick up every 3 stitches for every 4 rows. But when you're picking up a horizontal edge, whether it's a bind off like this or a cast on down here, all you have to do is pick up 1 stitch for each stitch. So it makes it very straightforward. In stockinette, you don't have to worry about the ratio. So I'm going to pick up along this bind off edge here. And what I'm going to do is I am not going to pick up a single thread along the bind off. If I did that, it would look thready and holy, and you would not be very happy with the look. So I'm going to show you what that looks like and the reason why we don't do it. If you see, you got a weird vertical line, you got a weird horizontal line here. It looks really pulley, not a happy thing. And even if we picked up the front thread, which is the other temptation, you wouldn't get the horizontal line, but you would still get a very thready look that isn't actually a sturdy seam or very stable in and of its own right. So if you see, you can see the holes. Nobody likes that. That's not fun. So I'm going to take that out and I'm going to show you how to do it properly. Always, when you're picking up, you always want 2 threads. And the reason you want 2 threads, it makes a nice sturdy seam and it looks good. So if I pick up these 2 threads, kind of the chain of my standard bind off, can be a little tricky to get started. I'm going to show you what that looks like. It'll be slightly offset from your columns because if you think about it, that chain is going and kind of, if this is 1 column of stitches and this is 1 column of stitches, your bind off chain bridges those 2. So if I go into that bind off column up at the tippy top, number 1, I'm kind of fighting it. It's a little hard. And I've split the stitch. But you can see my new column of stitches is coming in between these column stitches. So the temptation is to pick up directly into the chain. You can do that if you're working a border and it's not really going to make a whole heck of a lot of difference. But if you're doing a shoulder or something where it's going to be a very visible seam where you want to make sure it's continuous, go down a little bit. It's not going to hurt anything. You're going to go in. See my vertical column right here? Here's my V. Boop, boop. I'm going to go into that spot. And I'm going to pull up a stitch. Then I'm going to move over into my next column. I'm going to poke my needle through, wrap it around as though I'm knitting, and pull it back up. Poke my needle in, wrap my yarn around. I use my index finger here to hang on to it so I have some leverage. Pull it up. You can also use a crochet hook. That's very handy. Or if you have a stitch fixer, that will also work. You'll just have to be able to slip them onto the needle after you've done it. So I'm going into each vertical column of knits. And don't be afraid to yank on your knitting a little bit. It's not going to go anywhere. In, around, pull it up through, and there you go. You have a very nice vertical line or a very nice horizontal line right here. That'll make a nice clean seam, and on the inside you have that whole bind off, boom, rolling to the back. If we're going to do this on the cast on, it's exactly the same thing. This was a long tail cast on here, and what you can do, it's a little harder to see exactly where to go, but look for your vertical column of V's. Identify your spot right there and make sure you're picking up 2 strands. You see I have 2 strands on my needle right here. 1, 2. Makes a nice solid seam. 1, 2, 3. I'm going 1 to 1. I'm going to snug that little guy up. In, around, and pull up. Into the hole, around, pull it up through. You can see that column just continues right on in. And my entire cast on is right there. So I hope this helped you. Please check out our other videos and tutorials about how to pick up stitches. And make sure to like and subscribe to our podcast, The Chronicles of Yarnia, on YouTube. And visit us on Ravelry as Shop Yarnia and our website, shopyarnia.com. Thanks a lot. Bye. Hi everyone, it's Jen for Yarnia, Montclair's local yarn store, here to talk to you a little bit about how to pick up stitches on garter stitch. You can check out our other tutorials and our other videos about how to pick up stitches on our YouTube channel, or you can follow us on our podcast, Chronicles of Yarnia, on our YouTube channel. Please make sure to check us out online at shopyarnia.com, and we are on Ravelry as Shop Yarnia as well. So the first thing I'm going to talk about when we're talking about garter stitch is that unlike our stockinette swatch, where we have to pick up a specific ratio, a specific number of stitches we pick up for each row, garter stitch is a lot easier because of the way that garter stitch is shaped, where the stitches are almost compressed. You're going to pick up one stitch for every garter stitch ridge when you're picking up along the vertical lines. So this makes it really easy if you're doing garter stitch and you know that you're going to pick up the stitches. Think ahead, and you can in fact use a slip stitch edging on garter stitch. It actually makes it really easy to pick up the stitches along the vertical edge. To just slip the first stitch of each row with the yarn in front to make this chained edge like that. Now, if you don't, you're going to end up with this traditional edge where you have the little ridges and the bumps. That's not a problem either. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to pick up into the chained edge because it really is quite easy. So in this case, we're going to do the same thing that we do every time we pick up stitches, where we poke our needle into the fabric, we pull up a loop of our yarn, and we have a stitch on our needle. The reason that we are going to work with the slip stitch edge, remember, is that the ratio of rows in garter stitch to stitches you pick up on the edge is 2 rows in garter stitch to 1 stitch going this way. Now 2 rows in garter stitch equals 1 garter ridge, and when you slip a stitch at the edge of each row, what you'll have is a chained edge that goes, this whole thing bridges 2 rows of garter stitch. So it makes it very straightforward to look for our little gaps. See our little gap right there? This is our slip stitch edge. We're going to poke right into that gap, pull up a loop of yarn onto the needle. There's our stitch. We're going to go 1, poke, 2, wrap, 3, pull up. Now, if you notice, just like every time we pick up stitches, we always want to pick up 2 strands. The reason we do that is that if we pick up 1 strand, we end up with something that looks and feels thready and weak. See the holes? Not a good look. So, we're going to go back and we're going to pick up 2 strands right into this gap, nice and big. In, pull up a loop, poke in, pull up a loop, and we're going to go in every single loop. Poke in, take your yarn and wrap it around and pull it up. In, around, and pull up. And that makes a lovely tidy edge. And the nice thing, if you're working on any kind of modular knitting, you have a pretty chain on the back. So it always looks really nice from both sides. It's very reversible, the slip stitch edge. And it's a nice solid seam. It doesn't look thready. It's not going to pull on you. So that's how we pick up and knit on our slip stitch selvage. Let me show you how to pick up and knit on your traditional selvage. So in this case, it's very similar. We're still going to pick up 2 strands. There's 2 ways to do it. Number 1, you can either pick up in the ridge. Do you see, if you see the ridge is made out of this little pretzel guy, where there's a loop right here that has 2 strands, and then there's a little guy right here that has 2 strands, and a guy right here that has 2 strands. So you can either pick up into the pretzel, boom, wrap your yarn around. In this case, I'm going to use my fingernails to do it. 1, and then I'm going to go into my pretzel and loop. It's a little tricky. Into my pretzel. So that way is one way to do it. That's not my favorite way. My favorite way is to go into the valleys. The reason I like to go into the valleys is that it's tricky to get 2 strands when you pick up in the pretzel. So it's a lot easier to pick up in the valley and just pick up these 2 guys right here. Boop, boop. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here, pick up in the valley, and pull up a strand. So remember, the temptation is to pick up 1, but don't do that. Pick up 2 strands. And don't work with the tail. Work with the yarn that's attached to the ball. Always a trick. And I'm going to go into the strands and up. And I'm going to go into the strands and up. And I'm looking. Again, your temptation is to go here. Remember, 2 strands. Always 2 strands. And here we go. And there we go. It looks very similar to the pickup that we did along this side, the slip stitch side. The other side doesn't look quite as nice, so it's a little bit less reversible, but from the front you can't tell. So that's how we pick up for garter stitch, which is a little bit easier than stockinette. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Hey guys, it's Jen from Yarnia, Montclair's local yarn store, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about how you pick up a button band when you're about to steek something. So there are a couple of different ways to pick up stitches, and this is an interesting way to do it, where if you're picking up stitches when you're planning to steek a sweater, normally you would pick up along an edge and you would poke your needle in, making sure you have 2 strands, and pull up a stitch. Now, you can still do that with your steeked sweater or your steeked button bands, but rather than having to wait until you've cut your steek and picking up your button bands, you can also pick up your button bands before you cut the steek. You can do it in this manner where you poke in and pull up from underneath, but it's a little tricky. If you can see, my hand is underneath with the yarn. I'm over here, and it's a little bit fighting blind, right? Where I'm picking up in the middle, and it's a little harder. So the way that I like to do it when I'm working on a steeked button band on a sweater, or anything steeked, it could be a sleeve opening, is to actually fold the yarn. So let's assume that our steek is running right down here, that this is where we're going to steek. So what I'm going to do is go over to this column right here, and I'm going to fold this column in half so I see just this column, the V's, directly to the right, I guess, of my steek. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to pick up into both of these legs of the V stitch. You can see how my needle is. So I'm really folding my sweater like this, or my swatch like this, so I have this at the top and the 2 sides at the bottom. And then I'm going into the right leg underneath and to the left leg underneath. I'm taking my yarn, I'm wrapping it around, and I'm pulling up a stitch, just like I would normally when I'm picking up stitches. But in this case, I'm going in between. So I'm going to do the same thing on the next stitch. I'm going to go into the right and the left leg, pull up a stitch. Now, we're still picking up in stockinette, so we still need to pay attention to our ratio, which our general ratio for stockinette picking up is 3 stitches to every 4 rows. And the way that we handle that is we picked up 1 stitch, we picked up 2 stitch, we're about to pick up 3 stitch, and then we're going to skip this number 4, just skip them, and then we're going to go 1, count again in your head, 2, pick them up, 3, pick them up, skip. 1, you can really see right here, my right leg, my left leg. Wrap my yarn around. I hold it with my fingers so it doesn't slide off. Pull up a loop. I lost track already. Isn't that bad? So all else fails, I can look and see. 1, 2, 3. Here's a little gap. 1, 2, 3. Here's a little gap. So I'm on 1. So now I'm going to go to 2. And I'm going to go to 3. And I'm only going to do this right now because I want to show you what it looks like when you have it down. So if you take a look at this, this is one side of my sweater. These are my steek stitches. And I'm going to do this on the other side. The really nice thing about this is that this is actually very similar to a crochet stabilization. So the button bands are going to provide a little bit of extra stabilization for your steek. So you really don't have to worry about it coming undone. And then on the back, you can see, and you can really see with the contrast, these little dashes, boop, 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 boop. That's your yarn from your button band. So if I wanted to continue and just do this, say it's a garter stitch button band, and I'm just going to knit this a little bit. And you'll really be able to tell how this will help hold your sweater together. That last guy is always a little bit loose, but that's why you have a tail. And we're going to do a little bit more, one more row so you can really see how this works. There we go. So now we have a little bit of fabric for our button bands right there. And it's pulling right through. It's holding on. The nice thing about this also is that when you cut your steek, right down here, snip, 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 this button band pickup will help flip everything over like that. And won't that look nice and tidy? So just remember, the key to picking up stitches, especially in stockinette, is your ratio. And also, you always want to pick up 2 strands, whether you're doing it in the middle of the fabric, here, or you're doing it at the edge of the fabric, here. I hope that was helpful for you, and good. If you are steeking a sweater, good luck. It's very fun, it's very addictive, and you can follow us at Yarnia, at Chronicles of Yarnia, our podcast on YouTube, on Ravelry as Shop Yarnia, Instagram as Shop Yarnia, and also our website, shopyarnia.com. Thanks so much for watching.